Hey guys, MrPopper bringing back to you an update to my preseason 11 Gnar guide. Now we are on patch 10.24 and we have settled a little bit. We know a little bit more about what we should build and how we should play with all these new items and new changes. And with that being said, I had 5 original builds that I played a ton of, and now I'm down back to 4 primary builds. I am no longer building Prowler Claw. It was too situational, and it doesn't perform as well because when you are Mega Gnar, you get animation locked a lot because of your Q, W, E, and R, where the activation of Prowler Claw may be a little too slow, and there are just better options. So, with that being said, we have a new build as well. Well, it's not a whole new build, it's a new mythic item that you can replace the Triforce with for your split push build. So we have Stridebreaker. Stridebreaker gives you some attack damage, attack speed, some health, some cooldown reduction, a very small dash that slows people around you, that does damage, and it also gives you move speed on hit, which is the highest on hit move speed item we've ever had, especially for ranged champions. And then it also grants all other mythic items 3% move speed. So that's really amazing because, you know, Mini Gnar already has some scaling and move speed in his passive. At max level, he gets 20 extra move speed for free, which isn't a lot. But, you know, it's amplified by stuff such as Celerity if you take it, or if you have free boots, which gives the 10 extra move speed, which I have in this one. Celerity I'm still testing out still. I don't know if it's going to be the greatest, but it was really fun. But not only is this like a ton of amazing stats for Gnar, it also has some really good interactions for Gnar as well. So the dash is really cool. It's not the biggest dash. If you just look at it, it's literally just as big as that. It's really small, like you barely even move, right? But the AoE slow is really good, and the damage is pretty strong too. Later the game goes on, the more damage it's going to do because it scales with your damage. The interaction I want to show you is, let me spawn a minion real quick, or enemy dummy. Okay, so the enemy champion is right here, right? Let's say he is like super close to dying, but he can potentially outplay you by like flashing or use it, like if it's a Darius, he can just pull you, or of the sorts. Or if you jump in on him, you can end up, you know, jumping into the tower, and then you're at risk. You're making a very risky play. With this new item, Stridebreaker, you can actually stop your second jump as Mini Gnar, or if you're doing an animation cancel, you can also stop your jump with the item as well, and you can actually direct where you want to jump. So I can jump on him and just dash myself shortly to the left, right, back, or I can do forward as well. For this scenario, I'm going to go back, so I'm going to jump towards him, and I'm going to jump back. Ready? But yeah, it's like actually so strong. And the entire time, like, you can even do it during your normal hop and crunch animation too, which is really strong. And when you're autoing and getting your hyper procs, you're kiting anywhere between like 500 and 700 move speed late game too, which is so gross. And imagine if you had Celerity, you can probably get even higher. Dude, it's so strong. So I think it's going to be situational for the most part as well, though, since the other mythic items do grant some better stats. Triforce giving you ramping damage with its phage effect called, I think it was called like Swifting Strikes before, and it also gives you more attack speed as well. But Stridebreaker gives you way more move speed, which is probably way stronger for splitting if the enemy team has a lot of catch potential. Really, really hard to catch a Gnar with this item, and Gnar can also catch people really easily with this item just by, you know, jumping, dashing, and throwing your Q. Like, the range on it is really strong. I'd recommend trying this build out a bunch. I haven't played it too much. I played it maybe 4 or 5 games, but all those games it felt really strong when I did play it. And yeah, for the most part though, the rest of the builds are primarily the same. You have your main bruiser build with one exception, one small change to the build. You can go Titanic Hydra in this build. It is really strong for more specifically team fighting. When you turn Mega Gnar, the extra like 800 HP late game that you get for transforming, it feeds into Titanic, giving you like an extra 20 AD or so, which is really strong. The only bad thing I don't like about Titanic is its on-hit effect does not apply to your abilities, such as Ravenous Hydra does. So I think I'm more of a fan of Ravenous Hydra myself still, but Titanic is still a very viable option for a more bruiser HP heavy build. But for the most part, all the rest of the builds are about the same. If you are looking for a normal looking game, I think your go-to item should still be Gore Drinker. It has a lot of damage sustain, and you have a lot of very healthy options you can build into for either protection or offense, whether it's Starax, your Death's Dance, your Maw. Wit's End is still a really strong option. And you still have your gargoyles to like complete your build, which is still really cool. You can also build into more defensive items such as Dead Man's or Force of Nature. Then you have your tank builds, which is primarily HP and damage, which I have been spamming a ton of actually. If you want to look at my match history, that's like the primary build. I can't actually look into it right now because I'm in practice tool. But it is extremely powerful. You get super tanky. Your opponents can't really do much damage. You're a lot of utility. You do not do a million damage though, so you have to play around your team. It's really strong if you're playing duos with, which I've been playing with my friend who plays a lot of Kha'Zix, a lot of Amumu, a lot of Zac. And he has another champion. I don't remember off the top of my head though. But it's a very powerful build. I've been playing it a ton. I highly recommend this one if you're playing duos a lot. If you're trying to play by yourself and trying to win by yourself, it probably isn't the strongest build. So you have to keep that in mind. If you're trying to solo carry, the more damage you build, the easier it is to carry yourself. But yeah, and then you have your split push build, which we just went over. You have two options now. Instead of just Triforce, you can also go Stridebreaker. And if you do go Stridebreaker, I would really want to look at the enemy team. If they have a magic resist, like a high magic damage team comp, I'd highly recommend like going a early Wit's End, because that extra 20 move speed combined with Stridebreaker gives you 50 on hit move speed. Plus, it also gives you even more move speed, more items you can complete. So that 50 is actually more like 53 or 56. And then combined with the extra boost and extra everything, it's so strong. And then for your last push, your last build paths, you have your anti-tank. If the enemy team has 2 tanks, 3 tanks, if they have 4, I'm like, God bless you. God bless the enemy team. Like that'd be a hard team to play against. But with that being said, like you still have a ton of amazing options. You have your Divine Sunderer, which is really good for taking down towers, by the way. But it's also really good on Gnar because it gives you Magic Pen and Armor Pen. You have your Cleaver, which gives you even more max HP % damage, and then Armor Shred. You have your Abyssal Mask, which if you CC someone, they take 10% more damage from all sources, which is really good if you're playing with your team. If you're not playing with your team, I'd recommend maybe going something else. Thornmail is really strong. If you CC someone, you apply 60% Grievous Wounds. Randuin's really strong for a damage debuff on the enemy team. Dead Man's, it helps you get around a bit quicker. Maybe not as useful for this build if you are looking to play around your team more. If you're looking to get picks though, it's extremely strong. The same goes for Force of Nature if you're going for picks or you're trying to chase someone down. Really powerful item. But Spirit Visage is still really good, especially with Divine Sunderer giving you heal. That heal is going to be increased by 25% even more. And then the HP regen is really strong, especially on Mega Gnar. And yeah, this is my update for the guide. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I think that's it. And I'll let you know if there's anything else I'll add on. Peace out.